Thinking about moving to Salt Lake City? Let's tackle the top 5 pros and cons of moving to Utah's capital so you can decide if it's the right move for you. Hey, welcome back to my channel, Living in Provo, Utah. I'm Scott Walters with Best USA Realty. I'm your Utah YouTubing realtor. So whether you're looking to move in 9 days, 90 days, or even 9 years, reach out to me. Remember, I can't help you if you don't reach out to me. I'd absolutely love to help you. Today we're spotlighting Salt Lake City, one of the most dynamic cities in Utah. Let's talk about what makes it great and what challenges you might face.
Did you know that Salt Lake City's unemployment rate is 2.5%? That's well below the national average. And that leads me to my pro number one for Salt Lake City is just a strong job market. There's a lot of tech jobs. The point of the mountain area in Salt Lake is the area collectively known as Silicon Slopes between basically Draper and Lehigh. A lot of high-tech businesses down that way like Domo, Ancestry, Adobe. Lots of high-tech jobs there, but there's also Delta Airlines. Salt Lake City is the hub for Delta Airlines. You got Intermountain Healthcare, Goldman Sachs. And the thing about all the jobs in Salt Lake, it's just very diverse. You've got outdoor jobs, you've got healthcare jobs, tech jobs, finance jobs, education jobs. There's just really a plethora of different styles of jobs and employment opportunities in Salt Lake. All right, my con number one is just poor air quality. Salt Lake deals with some bad air. I mean, it's a big metro area, so you're going to have a lot of pollution that way anyway. Now, some of the worst pollution that we deal with is going to be in the wintertime when we have winter inversions where those high pressures trap all the smog and fog down in the valleys. And there literally can be a week or two more at a time where you just can't hardly see anything, that all this junk is just trapped down within the valley, and it takes a big storm to come and push all that out. So if you have respiration issues, then Salt Lake may not be the right choice for you because it does have air quality issues, particularly in the winter. Now in the summertime, we've been dealing with a little bit poor air quality, especially when the fire season kicks up. That's usually more, I'd say maybe July through September as the temperatures heat up and we tend to have more wildfires. And many times we deal with smoke that's coming from other areas, other states, fires in other states. A lot of the smoke that we dealt with this summer is coming from fires that were based in California and Washington and Oregon. They weren't even in our state. Just know that in the summer and winter, we can have poor air quality with summertime fires and wintertime inversions. Generally, a nice big storm blows that out, and we still have many, many days of blue skies and just beautiful scenery. But sometimes we don't have the best air quality. Pro number two, it's the outdoor lifestyle. Probably should have been pro number one. That's a big reason why a lot of people relocate to the Salt Lake City area, is just the outdoor lifestyle. Now there's I'll say 5 major canyons in the Salt Lake area, but there's 4 on the east side. You've got Immigration Canyon on the north, and then you got Parley's Canyon. That's the main canyon that you'll take if you want to go over to Park City and the ski resorts and all that Park City area has to offer. But then you also have Big Cottonwood Canyon, and that's where they have several more ski resorts. And then you have Little Cottonwood Canyon, which is on the south end of Salt Lake Valley. And then over on the west side in the Ochre Mountains, not in the Wasatch Range, but in the Ochre Mountains, you have Butterfield Canyon, which is a smaller canyon that a lot of people enjoy visiting as well. But with the Big Cottonwood Canyon, you've got Brighton and Solitude ski resorts. And Little Cottonwood Canyon, that's where you have Snowbird and Alta. So you've got fantastic ski resorts right there. Lots of hiking, beautiful waterfalls, waterfall hikes in the area, beautiful lakes to go visit. So just one of the reasons people love Salt Lake is that outdoor lifestyle. The fact you've got all these beautiful canyons so nearby. Now also, Salt Lake City is within 6 to 7 hours drive of 10 to 12 national parks. I'm going to list some of those for you. Of course, you've all heard of Grand Canyon. That's probably about 6 hours drive south down to the north end of Arizona. Beautiful canyon there. But again, you're like 3 to 4 hours to Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park, Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reef, and then Zions is probably 4 or 5 hours away. So all the main 5 parks in Utah are really close. But then again, you're also like 6 to 7 hours over to Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado, as well as Mesa Verde National Park in Colorado. The Great Basin National Park over in Nevada is about 3 hours away or so. And then you're about 4 or 5 hours away from Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton National Park. So it's really a great base to live if you want to go visit a whole bunch of national parks close by. One great reason, one great pro for Salt Lake is just all the national parks that are so close by. You have two large lakes and waters of body near Salt Lake. Of course, you have the Great Salt Lake, And then you also have Utah Lake on the south, which is great for boating and fishing. Lots of streams in the area to go fishing on. Provo River isn't very far away from the Salt Lake area. That's known as a blue ribbon fishery. You've got multiple reservoirs that are within an hour and a half of Salt Lake City. You've got Jordanella Reservoir, Strawberry Reservoir, Schofield Reservoir a little bit further away. There's a whole bunch of reservoirs that you can go fishing and camping and boating and hiking on. So outdoor recreation, outdoor lifestyle, that is my pro number 2 for the Salt Lake City area. Con number 2, expensive cost of living. Salt Lake City being the big city, the capital city of Utah, that just the home prices are just more expensive there. In fact, the median home price in Utah, well, for Salt Lake City, is about $520,000, while the national average is $416,000. So you're also dealing, not only are the prices high in Salt Lake City market, but also rents can be high. You can pay as much as $1,400 a month to rent a 1-bedroom apartment. And so, I mean, it's pretty pricey, not only for a house payment, but for rent payment. And of course, because with those rising home prices, the home appreciation, well, then taxes are going up because your tax rate is tied to the value of your home. So every time they reassess your home and assess that your home has gone up in value, then also your taxes go up. So those combinations right there are making my con number 3 be an expensive cost of living to live in Salt Lake City. Pro number 3 is public transportation and walkability. I would consider Salt Lake City, for the most part, particularly in the downtown area, very walkable. You have the Utah Transit Authority, so you've got the buses running everywhere, but you also have the TRAX lines that are running all over downtown. They'll also run you out to the airport. They're continuing to increase where those TRAX lines run to connect all of the Salt Lake Valley. Of course, you can also connect in to the Front Runner, which is the main train that runs basically down to Provo all the way up to Ogden. Last I heard, they're extending that even all the way down to Payson. So good transportation that way, lots of walkability within the city to get to different activities. So it's great for the public transportation. Now, Salt Lake City also has over 190 miles of bike trails. So it's a very bike-friendly city. I say, I was up in the big Cottonwood Canyon just a couple days ago. There are a lot of people mountain biking as well as road biking up that road. So a lot of people like to utilize the canyons as a great place to go ride their road bikes, get some good exercise, and see some beautiful scenery. So it's a great reason for choosing to live in the Salt Lake area is the public transportation. It's very good. Okay, in addition to that, I almost forgot, in addition to that, the Salt Lake City Airport's about 10 minutes from downtown Salt Lake City, so the airport is so close. And again, there's a TRAX line that runs out to the airport so that it can bring people from the airport directly into the city, into the conference center and the convention centers and the hotels. And so it's got great access to Salt Lake International Airport. Con number 3, earthquake risk. Now, this is something I don't think a lot of people talk about. They don't really talk about that Salt Lake City has an earthquake risk. Now, the Wasatch Front is basically built, and where the vast majority of all of Utah's population is built along the Wasatch Fault. There's a fault line right there. There have been earthquakes. A lot of experts say we're overdue for the big one. We did have one, I think, in 2020. It was located in Magna, which is, I'm going to say, maybe 15 miles to the west of Salt Lake City. When it happened, I happened to be in Orem, which is probably about 40 minutes south of Salt Lake, and I felt it. I felt it all the way down there. So there was most of the damage was located or centralized right there in the Magna area, and there really wasn't much damage right in Salt Lake, but it wasn't a huge earthquake. It had been a massive earthquake. There could be some real damage going on. So I wanted to read just some of the notable earthquakes that have happened in the Salt Lake City area in the last 50 years. So there was the Magna earthquake in 2020. It was a magnitude of 5.7. It did cause significant shaking throughout the valley, and it resulted in some building damage, some power outages, and of course, it did cause some alarm for those of us that felt it. It wasn't that fun to feel. In 1988, there was the Richfield earthquake, and it was a 5.3 magnitude earthquake. And then in 1975, there was a magnitude 6.0 earthquake, and it was called the Hansel Valley earthquake, which was about 50 miles north of Salt Lake City. So anyway, we do have a real threat of earthquakes that can happen here. We live along the fault line, and so just know that is a risk that you deal with. If you're going to live in this area, you may actually want to consider carrying earthquake insurance on your homeowner's insurance policy to cover you in the event that we were to ever have an earthquake that would cause real serious damage. Number 4's got to be education. So Salt Lake's got fantastic higher education options and opportunities there. Of course, you've got the University of Utah. They've become just a real powerhouse in the football world. Their football team's been amazing. But of course, everybody knows the University of Utah for their top flight medical school. So they've got great options there if you want to become a doctor. They've got a great dental school. Actually, having my niece's husband's going to dental school there at the U. So you've got really good, wonderful opportunities there. You also have some private or smaller universities. You've got some community college. You got like Salt Lake Community College and Westminster College. If you want to go a little bit further, you can drive down south to Utah County and check out Utah Valley University or Brigham Young University. If you want to go a little bit to the north, you can go to Weber State University. So there's a lot of good top flight university education opportunities in Salt Lake City and very near Salt Lake City. Of course, the public education is also known for being good in Salt Lake, with good elementary schools and junior highs and high schools. They actually have a pretty famous high school, and West High School. That's where they filmed a lot of the High School Musical movies. Those were big back in the early 2000s. My kids watch those shows all the time, so they've got that high school there on the west side of town. So yeah, another reason to choose Salt Lake City is you have fantastic education opportunities in both the public and private schools. Con number 4 is traffic congestion. Maybe I should have made this my number 1. I mean, the traffic in Salt Lake's gone nuts. I remember driving to Salt Lake with my dad as like a 10 or 11-year-old boy. I can't even remember why I wasn't in school. We drove on Interstate 15 from Spanish Fork all the way up to Bountiful, which meant we drove all the way through Salt Lake Valley. This is probably about 10 in the morning. I remember seeing maybe 50 or 60 cars the whole time. Now, keep in mind I was 10 or 11, so maybe there were more than that. But in other words, it just didn't feel like there were that many people on the road. Now, it doesn't matter what time of day you drive along that I-15, it's just busy. It's busy all the time. Of course, during the rush hours, it's really busy. You will have slowdowns. You're going to experience it during the rush hour times, especially if you're coming from the south, from the Utah County into Salt Lake County in the morning. It's going to be really slow going north. And then, of course, if you're commuting in from the northern counties like Weber and Davis and coming down in Salt Lake, then it's really on those north end of I-15 in that area, it's going to be more congested. And then, of course, it reverses in the evening as everyone goes back home. So it's just really congested. The good thing I talked about a little bit is there is some good public transportation in the Salt Lake Valley area. So there's a lot of people, if they work in downtown Salt Lake, they wouldn't even have to really get on those on the freeway if they didn't want to. They could take a UTA bus to a local track station and then ride the track station into downtown. So there is at least that. But otherwise, the traffic all over Salt Lake Valley is pretty busy. There's really only there's the one main north-south interstate in Salt Lake Valley, and that's Interstate 50. And then, of course, you have the Belt Route 215, which circles Salt Lake Valley. You have Interstate 80, which runs east and west. That runs all the way out over to Nevada or over to Wyoming. So you have those east-west routes there. And you have a couple other, some bigger roads on the west side that they've created. The Mountain View Corridor and Bangerter Highway are some other north-south routes that they have. But the main interstate is Interstate 15. That's all Salt Lake Valley really has for a large major north-south corridor. That's why it can get so crowded and so busy. You know, when I think about how busy the traffic is between now and when I was a little kid, well, now there's like over 1 million people, like 1.2 million people in the Salt Lake Valley area. It was probably half that back when I was growing up. So that's why it's just with all that additional population, it's just brought so many cars and so much more traffic congestion to the Salt Lake Valley. Pro number 5, all the pro sports teams. Salt Lake's really, when I was a kid growing up, the New Orleans Jazz, if that's what they were called, I can't remember, but they moved to Salt Lake and became the Utah Jazz. And we were all excited about that back in the 80s or maybe late 70s, whenever that was, when the Utah Jazz came to Utah. And they're still probably the premier sports team in Utah. It's the team that's probably most closely followed. But in the subsequent years, there are other sports teams, pro teams that have come to Salt Lake. We have Real Salt Lake, which is an MLS or Major League Soccer team. They actually play down a little bit further south of Salt Lake City itself. They have a beautiful stadium, but they're very close to Salt Lake City. Of course, Utah just got the relocated Phoenix Coyotes to move, or Arizona Coyotes, whatever they call themselves, to move to Utah. Currently, they're known as Utah Hockey Club. I believe their first game is either tonight or tomorrow. So that's something that's really exciting for this area. Is they have now a National Hockey League team, They've had a minor league team in the Utah Grizzlies for a long time. There's also minor league baseball that's been in Salt Lake for years, but there is an entertainment group that's been trying very hard to get a Major League Baseball team, either one to move here or an expansion team. So hey, in addition to all these great sports activities that come here, Salt Lake was just also awarded the Winter Olympics coming up here in about 10-12 years. Of course, they already hosted the 2002 Winter Olympics. I went to a lot of events with my wife. We absolutely love those events. So they've kept a lot of the training venues and facilities here in Utah and kept them active and working and functioning. And so they'll be ready to go for the Olympics when they come here in about a decade or however long way that is. But also there's other professional sports leagues and teams that come here. I was in Salt Lake City on Saturday actually, and the UFC was actually at the Delta Center. That's where the Jazz play, probably where the Utah Hockey Club's also going to play. So we had a Saturday night UFC event going on right here in Salt Lake City at the Delta Center. So the sports scene in Utah, it's very vibrant. People love their sports. Of course, in the Salt Lake City area, they love the University of Utah Utes. Their football team is just fantastic. Their basketball team used to be good. They're struggling, coming back, getting a little better again. But of course, you can't forget about the Red Rocks. That's the University of Utah's gymnastics team. They're always one of the top women's gymnastic teams in the entire country. So anyway, just some fantastic sports programs going on in the state of Utah, and that all begins with professional sports teams in Salt Lake City. All right, you ready for it? My con number 5, harsh winters. Utah is a mountain state, mountain zone, and it's at its higher elevation, and we do get winter storms. We can get a lot of snow. I always say the one nice thing that I feel about Utah is at least during the daytime, it tends to warm up enough that oftentimes it'll melt the snow off the roadways, and so by evening we usually have clear roads that aren't snow packed. But we can have some days where it's just the snow is big enough that you may want to stay home and not drive to work or go anywhere. We'll have days where we could get 2 or 3 feet of snow. Those days feels like they're becoming more and more rare, but still, UDOT does a great job of getting their snowplow drivers and trucks out on the road, clearing the roads, keeping them clean. The cities all seem to do a good job of keeping their roads clean too. But there will be times when there's a storm big enough that the roads, especially the roads within the surface streets, within the subdivisions, that they could accumulate some snow and stay kind of iced up and slick for a little while. And so you may want to have a vehicle with 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive for those situations to be able to navigate a little bit easier. But yeah, you're going to deal with some wintertime snow here in Utah. So these are my recommendations. 1, have a good shovel, and even better is have a good 4-wheeler with a snowplow blade on it. I actually think those do a better job than the snow blowers. You can get a snow blower. I had a big one, and I just ended up hardly ever using it. It just seemed to be so much easier to hop on my 4-wheeler with a snowplow blade and push the snow out of the way. So those are my recommendations to make the wintertime snow a little more bearable. But just keep in mind, with that snow comes fantastic winter skiing and snowmobiling. I promised you a couple bonus pros when it comes to Salt Lake City. One, of course, is the shopping. The downtown area of Salt Lake City has some fantastic shopping with City Creek, which is basically an indoor-outdoor mall. And of course, yes, there's a little creek that runs through it. It actually has trout in it. A lot of beautiful shops and eateries and places to enjoy there right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City. You have the Gateway, which is just a little bit west of the main part of downtown over there by the Delta Center. And both of these places are kind of a mix of residential and commercial in that area, and they've really revitalized and made the downtown area look beautiful. Of course, the Smith Entertainment Group, in partnership with the city, I believe the city passed it, where they're going to try to be doing some even more downtown renovation and even making the area even more lively than it already is. So shopping is something that's really great. And of course, being in the Salt Lake metro area, you've got all the different kind of shops you could want throughout the valley, so you can find just about anything you want. Sporting goods stores, the malls, multiple malls throughout the valley. So a lot of good shopping that way. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to say the cultural events in Salt Lake, of course, are the best in the state. It's the capital city. That's where most of the people live in the state of Utah, is right there in Salt Lake Valley, basically within the Wasatch Front, which is about 120 miles in length, maybe 20 to 30 miles wide. That's where the majority of the population of all of Utah lives. And so everybody generally comes into Salt Lake City for a lot of the cultural events. That's where you'll attend where you'll go to plays or watch the Ballet West or Utah Symphony. Anyway, just That's just where you have a lot of the cultural events with the arts. Is located right in Salt Lake City area. Of course, a lot of the concerts, things like that, come into the Delta Center, and so that's one of my bonus pros for Salt Lake. Is it's kind of the cultural hub when it comes to the arts for Utah.
So what do you think of my pros and cons? Did I leave something out? Make a comment down below. Let me know. So every day, people just like you reach out to me, and I absolutely love it. So again, if you're thinking of moving in 9 days, 90 days, or even 9 years, reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap on the notification bell so you can stay current every time I drop another video about living in Utah. Hey, and if you've enjoyed this video about Salt Lake City, you might also enjoy my video about the things they don't tell you about moving to Utah. You can watch that by clicking on somewhere up here. Or you might also enjoy my video about the types of homes to never buy, and you can watch that by clicking on somewhere up here. And with that, we'll catch you on the next video.